YouTube, and welcome back to Build Divide Worldwide. I'm Josh, and today I'm going to be going over the first ever restricted list, I guess I would call it. I'm just going to be borrowing the Yu-Gi-Oh term because that's what I'm more familiar with, and calling it the Forbidden and Limited list. It has been about a year and a half since this game has come out, and in that entire time span, going across 6 starter decks, 8 sets, with several tie-ins, and an entirely new spin-off series called Build Divide Bright, we haven't ever seen any cards become limited or straight out banned in the metagame. And I think that's a testament to how well they balance the game. It is definitely a very luck-based game, but I do think that none of the aces are inherently overpowered on their own. Of course, they thought otherwise for territories, which is why we see Balbalon being banned here. But I think they have done a pretty good job of balancing the game so far. I think they sort of put themselves into a corner by not rotating out cards. Because when you have such powerful cards like Nadia or Rabian that come out at the very start of the game, and they are still the best 3 slots for their respective colors 9 sets into the game, people aren't going to want to play your new cards. Like, if we look at some of the more recent deck lists that have won, people aren't playing cards from sets 6, 7, or 8. And people are only playing cards from sets 1 through 4. Because that stuff is broken. That stuff is the best in the game. Like I said, Nadia, the best blue 3 slot. Rabian, the best red 3 slot. For a while, Arya was the best 3 slot. But depending on your deck, you can now switch that out for Alara, which is only a very recent addition to the metagame. Arya being a staple since set 2, basically, for black. If you want to talk about the best white 3 slot, there really isn't one. I don't think white 3 costs are inherently good in the way that others are. This entire time, players have been putting the same things in their deck consistently. And I'm not talking about commands, because the fact that they reprint the same 4 commands every tie-up booster means those things aren't going anywhere. And I'm talking about Curse Trump card, Capital Breaker, Shackles of Ethics, I believe it's called, and Void Strike, I think. The 3 cost that rests a unit and draws a card. Those 4 commands are just going to be the baseline for power for commands in this game. And those things are shots. The reason why Nadia is so good is because she replaces herself in your hand. And even more than that, she gets better as the game goes on, because she also becomes a 5,000 power unit when you open your territory. It had gotten to the point where if you were running blue in a deck, you were running Nadia. Bloom was running Nadia for draw. Ishtarth was running Nadia for draw, and she could be brought back. Neferkuses is running Nadia so they can get through their deck faster. And so you have all these decks, not to mention Iora, or Rebecca, or any of the territories that actually use draw to help them. I even saw Melissa playing Nadia as well, because Melissa needs the draw power. And when you have a card that only costs 1 blue like that, that's an issue. That limits design space. Well, it doesn't really limit design space because nobody's playing your cards. People would rather play the broken one. I think if we continue to see this trend, we might see Rabian get hit in the future as well. But I think the game is healthier like that, to be honest. I think this is probably something they should have done after they finished the first 6 sets of Build Divide, finishing up the what I would call the anime sets before they moved on to set 7 and introduced an entirely new set of territories and second aces. However, I do think it's better that's happening later rather than not at all. I would definitely welcome Rabine getting hit to 1. That card just makes people afraid to kill it. Rabine's another one that gets better as you open your territory because it becomes a 6k, and then it gets to run over aces. That's not a healthy card, I think. There are alternatives to running Nadia. Some Japanese players on Twitter have been making deck lists now with Veronica instead of Nadia. Veronica being a 4-cost from set 2 that is 4,000 power. You rest it to draw a card, and when you open your territory, it becomes a 7,000 power card. It is not as insane as Nadia because it's not something you can play turn 1. However, it is a card that is comparable in power level, with the caveat being that you need to rest the card in order to get the value off. And I think that's a good compromise rather than being able to play Nadia and just sit on it and not having your opponent be able to interact in any way. And speaking of not being able to react in any way, we go to Babylon. There were always good combos with this card. There was at one point a meme deck in which you would play a card that destroyed one of your opponent's energy. And you would double that card with Babylon to just keep resetting your opponent's energy so they can never get to the higher cost cards in their deck. And that was a meme for a long time. But when it stopped being a meme was when they printed blue and black commands that allowed you to add commands to your hand from your deck. With the addition of black and blue cards, and specifically Excavation, where you can activate it off Iora's effect and then add 3 commands to your hand, that's when it becomes an issue. And because the game had become such a one-player affair, I think is why they made this move to ban Babylon. Because much like Nadia, who is going to want to use your new cards? This cool territory that you printed for Iora, which lets you use both choose one effects on a card, when Babylon is just that much stronger. I think for the most part the territories are very neatly balanced. However, if we're going at it from the perspective of preventing people from playing other territories because one territory is just so much more inherently powerful than the others, I think we are going to see more territories get banned. Not because they're too powerful, but because they want the meta to freshen up a bit. And I feel like that's what this move was. I very much think that they want these new sets to create a new meta, to keep the game fresh, to keep players interested. Because who is going to want to play... I mean, I played through 6 straight metas of Ishtarth being the dominant deck until finally, during set 6, Lionel and Dragon Iora came to the front and started actually competing with her. But we did sit through 6 Ishtarth metas. And I don't think they want that to happen again, where all the top players are just using the same deck to win. Because that is not what they want in a game where you are allowed agency to choose your own ace. Your ace doesn't matter too much. You choose the ace to fit your own playstyle, and I think that's the awesome thing about this game. Overall, I think this is a very good, healthy step forward for the game. I hope that more cards follow. If they don't add more cards, more territories to the ban list, then I hope they will have a rotation of sorts for territories. I do think specifically Bloom Territory 1, Rebecca Territory 1 are two of the main culprits for just pushing other Bloom and Rebecca territories out of the way because they're so much better than their other counterparts. I hope you enjoyed my opinion. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I personally, like I said before, think it's healthy for the game to limit Nadia and to ban Bal Babylon. But I'd love to hear any differing opinions, the same opinions, your take on it. Just anything at all, really. And I hope we can enjoy this game and build Divide together. Until the next time, peace.